What's up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are doing well. Before the video gets started, I wanted to say thank you all for the support and comments that I've been getting on the recent videos. I really appreciate seeing people interested in the builds and having questions about things that they might be wanting to do to their Genesis Coupe. So be sure to leave a comment below if there's anything that you'd like to see on the channel next. But for today's video, we're gonna be getting some things done on this car. We've got a retune that we're gonna be trying to get scheduled for this car here soon. And obviously, as I've discussed before, we've got port injection coming out in the very near future. So today, what we're gonna be doing is replacing the spark plugs on the 3.8 turbo. Right now, I am running a one-step Colder NGK spark plug. And we're going to be testing out a two-step Colder, which might not be needed as of now for the boost levels I'm running on this car, but I want to get it set in anyway, get them set up, know that they're working and whatnot, because I definitely will need them once we get port injection and turn the boost up. So let's go ahead and get started. Yep guys, so like I said, we are going to be doing these spark plugs on this car. Currently, I am running the NGK 93819, which is a one-step Colder plug from the OEMs. And today we're going to be switching them out to the NGK 97312, which is a two-step Colder plug. For doing this on the 3.8, it's not as easy as it would be on the 2.0T, but definitely better than the recent BMW that I did these on. The good thing is these three on this side are very accessible. You don't have to, remove a bunch of stuff in order to get those out. And then actually this first one over here, cylinder number 1, is accessible as well. The 3 and 5 on this side, you will have to remove the intake manifold in order to get to. So we'll go ahead and take care of that. We'll show you exactly what tools are needed and the best way to do this if you have to change the spark plugs on your 3.8. Yeah guys, so whether you are replacing your spark plugs just for regular maintenance, whether you're replacing them for getting tuned in A or upgrading obviously for a boosted application, when you order spark plugs, you definitely want to verify the gap that comes from the factory. Those things can be inconsistent sometimes, or if you're going for an NA tune, you might be recommended to change the gap from what the factory gap setting is. So to do that, there's plenty of kits out there, but you definitely want to get a set of feeler gauges. Stay away from those little coin gapper things that they sell at all the auto parts stores. Definitely get you a set of feeler gauges, and this tool right here will be your best friend when it comes to adjusting the gap on your spark plugs. So I've already adjusted them on all the new ones except for this one here, because I wanted to show you how I do it. These came in at like 27 thousandths of an inch. That's probably fine for what I need. I chose to cut that gap down to 24 thousandths. For reference, on the one-step Colders that I'm running right now, I'm running 20 thousandths. So in order to verify that gap, you get yourself your feeler gauges. Like I said, these ones, last time I checked, were, for all the other ones, they were about 26,000. So find the 026 or 0.65 millimeters. And you're just gonna wanna verify that that feeler gauge slides in. And this one's actually, yep, it slides right in. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but if I get this feeler gauge in, you see it slides in between the strap and the electrode there. So we're going to cut that down just a little bit to 24 thousandths. This tool here makes it very easy to do so. I've seen people smacking this thing on whatever they can find to try to cut this gap down. There are other tools out there, but this is definitely the easiest way to do it. So you just place the spark plug in this little holder, and then you can tighten this screw and it will actually press in on the strap there. So give it a little bit there. Let's see how much that did. Ooh, looks like that was actually perfect. Let me try 25. 25's not really going in, but 24 goes in. There's a little bit of tension. I might just close it down a wee bit more. 24 definitely slides in smooth, but not quite as tight as I like. So I'm gonna just give it a little bit more tension, and then we should be perfect with all of these set at 24 thousandths of an inch. Like I said, these came in around 26 or 27. I think they were supposed to be 28, but they definitely were not 28. I didn't check 27, but 26 definitely went in with some tension on all of them. So let's go ahead and check 24 now. Okay, yeah, that's much better. 24 just barely slides in super tight. So that's perfect. All right, so now that we've covered that, go ahead and get that back in here and get started on removing the existing spark plugs. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get the easily accessible spark plugs out. So for this, we need a 10 mil, just one bolt that holds these ignition coils down. So we'll go ahead and loosen those 3 bolts. There's a little safety clip on these harness connections for the ignition coil. So you pull that safety clip back, and then you can press that tab in and release the clip harness from the ignition coil. So we'll do that for all 3 of these. All right, so I'm gonna cheat. Just a little bit quicker. Now those 3 ignition coils should pull right up, and you'll have access to these spark plugs. So I'm gonna wait to pull all of them at the same time. Let me go ahead and do this one on this side. See if I can get that off. There we go. This would obviously be much easier if you didn't have to remove the intake manifold. But I think still, if you do it once, you could probably do this in less than 45 minutes. I know I've done it in less than that amount of time before. So those 3 are all ready to just pull the ignition coil off. Obviously you'll need a spark plug socket, which is like a 5/8 socket with the little rubber insert to hold the spark plug. So we had to get that one off as well, but now you have to take the intake manifold off. So in order to do that, you've got obviously some connectors. You've got your map sensor here. You'll unplug, so that to the side. 10 mils that hold this plastic rail on. These 2 center bolts here are 10 mils as well. So go ahead and loosen those. Then you've got 2 12mm nuts on either side here in line with those 2 I just loosened, and then 4 more 12mm bolts on this side that will release the intake manifold, the upper intake manifold from the lower intake manifold. For the throttle body, it's a bit interesting and can change depending on the setup that you're running. So throttle body normally has coolant hookups to it. So if you still do have coolant ran to your throttle body, I will typically say remove your throttle body from your intake manifold and then set it to the side so you don't have to disconnect any coolant lines. If you've done the coolant bypass mod, like what is done to this car, then you can remove these as a whole. But I will have to remove this intercooler piping connection here, which I believe I have an 11 mil T-bolt clamp here. Yep. loosen that. Go ahead and zip all of these off. So I'm just pulling that off to the side. I'm actually going to disconnect it all. You've got a vacuum line back here in the back. You've got a vacuum line here for your PCSV. And then you've got a vacuum line here that normally would connect to either your catch can or your valve cover. So there's a 10 mil bolt that holds that on. That'll be the easiest way. Let's see if I can get you on this side to see. Yep, so like I was saying, you've got this line here. I'm now using that for my connection to my vacuum block. So that's a 10 mil. Go ahead and zip that off. I've also got a 10 mil holding down my PCSV. That might be different from your setup. You've got a little clip here holding on the vacuum line going to your first control solenoid valve. And then you've got a vacuum line back here for the brake booster, I believe. Let's go ahead and slide that back. And last but not least, you've got your harness connector for your throttle body. This one can be a bit of a pain to get off. There we go. So if these vacuum lines are being a little tricky, you can give them a little bit of a tug back and forth. And they should slide off. Same for the one in the back. Sliding back and forth, that frees them up if they've been stagnant for who knows how long. There we go. Now with that 10 bolt removed here, this should just pop right off. So now we're ready to get those remaining 12 millimeter bolts and nuts removed. Yep, so as mentioned, the ones that were in line with these longer 10 mil bolts are 12 millimeter nuts. Might be difficult with how I've got my line ran here to get to this one. Guess I should do this the correct way. I might be able to get it like that. There we go. Get that loosened. Then you've got 4 bolts on this side, so we'll loosen those. I'm not going to push this plastic connector over to the side to get to all of them. And lastly, we just got the one additional nut in the back. Be careful when you're removing this one. It's very easy to drop it into Narnia, and that would be a bad day. So we'll go ahead and zip these off. Hold those nuts. Pause. Oh, that's the tough one. And now, with any luck, this intake manifold should be ready to pop right off. As long as you give yourself some clearance. One additional thing that I forgot to mention is there's a connector here that holds in the harness for the throttle body. If you're keeping the throttle body with the intake manifold, you can either remove this bottom bolt that holds that bracket in with the connector on, or you can actually remove the little compression clip that holds the connector on. So that's what I'm gonna do. Let me grab my popper tool for that. Yep, so just gonna fish this down in here. Pop this compression clip off. There we go. All right. So now that that is disconnected, we should be able to pull this intake manifold off. This hose is going to get in my way, but I should be able to fish it behind it. Oh, I might have to. I'm going to do the responsible thing and remove this line. That continues to get in my way. All right, let's try that again. Oh, just like that. There goes the intake manifold. Like I said, here is where normally you'd have connections for coolant. So if you still have those, you want to obviously keep the throttle body connected so you don't have to lose any coolant. Comes off just like that. Now, if you're working somewhere where there's a chance that anything could fall into these 6 runners to your valves, definitely put something there to cover them up so that that doesn't happen. So now we should be ready to remove the last 2 ignition coils. Zip those off, that safety clip, lock back, get these disconnected. Now we should be ready to pull up all of these ignition coils. Now, if you pull these out and there's a bunch of oil on the actual ignition coils, that might be your seals for your spark plug. Holes on the valve cover are bad. So just make sure to inspect all of those. And now we should be able to go ahead and pull these spark plugs out. All right, guys, so I went ahead and loosened all of the spark plugs and their holes. So I should be able to just thread these out. That 5/8 socket with the rubber insert will hold the spark plug. There she is. And then you'll just obviously swap to the new one, thread it in, do that for all 6. Now we can start reassembly. Out with the old and in with the new. All right, guys, last one going in. Now I don't use any anti-seize or lubrication on the threads of these spark plugs. Modern spark plugs don't need that. Torque just a spec. Okie dokie. Now, should be ready to go ahead and get this thing back together. So I'll see this ignition coils in. I do put a little bit of dielectric grease in them to help protect the spark plugs from corrosion and rust. So when I drop those down, just give them a little twist to make sure that that grease gets all over. Now grab the 10 mils. Get these started. in. And then we'll just snug up those 10 mils. They don't gotta be super tight. It is a plastic ignition coil, so you don't wanna crack the housing. We'll do it to the other side. Same thing on this side. Don't forget these connectors. Sink them in, push in the safety lock. Now we can get that intake manifold back on. Go ahead and slide this into position. Easy enough. Clip that in while I can remember. Okie dokie, so now we'll drop these in, get these two nuts started. And then we got the 12mm bolts. Now, I don't believe there's a specific pattern for tightening these, but follow the typical inside to outside. I'm sure that won't hurt. All right, guys, well, got everything else connected up now. So don't forget your map sensor, your plug for your throttle body, the little clip here, or the bracket, depending on how you did that there. Have the hose here, here, and here with their clips. 10 mil holding on this fitting back here. Obviously, whatever connection you have to your throttle body, whether that is charge piping or your intake system for NA. Torque all those down to spec. These two bolts right here don't need really to be super tight. They're just holding this plastic piece on, so be careful with those. Let's see if there's anything else I missed. Doesn't look like it. But now we've got everything together, tightened up. So call that a job complete. Well, guys, got it all together. Really wasn't that bad. I don't mind doing spark plugs on this car. I mean, obviously it'd be nice to not have to remove the intake manifold, but compared to some other 6-cylinder engines that I've worked on, I will say this is much easier than most others. So that's nice. So now that we've got the 2-step holder plugs installed, we should be ready to go ahead and schedule a retune with Remnant Performance and Alpha Speed. So be on the lookout for that coming soon. So hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial. Hopefully it was quick on how to change the spark plugs on the Genesis Coupe 3.8 liter engine. I will be hopefully making a video soon on getting this car on a dyno. I've been looking around and trying to find what options I have in my area, because I'd really like to see a before and after with the port injection. So hopefully we'll get something like that out to the channel shortly, but that's pretty much gonna do it for today's video. And I hope you all enjoyed it. Comment below if you have any questions or comments on this sort of installation or anything else that you'd like to see with the build. and take care. Have a great day.